audio settings real quick, just to go into that. So you can see here there's a lot. I think this is the advanced sort of thing? I'm not sure. Alright, so I'm just gonna go down from the top, showing you what each of these kind of mean. Sample rate, that is basically the audio. I know a lot about audio. I've never bothered worrying about that, I guess. I personally do not know what it is. It's in the back of my head. I know what it is. I know kind of what it does. I don't know how to explain it though. You'll be fine if you leave it where it's at. So channels: mono, stereo, 2.1, 4, 4.1, 5.1, 7.1. Now, so that means so mono is 1, stereo is 2. So if you think of headphones are stereo outputs. There's a left and a right. A mono, depending on basically the cable or how it's outputting, can work like one of two ways. It can either only output in one side, generally the left, or it can basically output the same signal to both. Whereas stereo, if you listen to music, when it's mixed, they might have drums a little bit louder or certain drum pieces in one side of the headphones, or same with the guitar or whatever. So that's how those two differ. The 2.1, 4, 4.1, I don't think I've ever heard of, but 5.1 and 7.1, I believe are surround sound. 7.1 I know is surround sound. 5.1 I think is just less of a surround sound, but I believe it is surround sound. Now you can see desktop audio device and audio device 2. I don't know what that is, but so I'll just select my monitor here. So the line out, the Scarlett 18i8 is what I use as my audio interface for my microphone and my headphones. And you can select anything. You can, if you have default selected, it is your default device on your computer. And then your audio 2, I'm assuming, I personally do not know. I don't need more than 2, really. I'm assuming it is that though. Mic auxiliary audio device, so that is an input. The desktop audios are technically outputs, in a way. The mic auxiliary is what you are going to want as your microphone. So if you're using a USB mic or an audio interface like I am, you actually will have that should be your default as well. And then I don't need any of these other ones. I probably will never bother with any of these other ones. Whatever. Audio meter decay rate. Again, you can just leave that where it's at. It just your signal will hold a little bit more. I will show you. All right. Sure. Let me go into here. So I unmuted my condenser mic, so you can see now that it's actually metering the audio. I'm peaking at about a good, or not peaking. Yeah, I guess I am peaking at an alright level. I am a little hot, but that's fine. So I can actually change that. If I go down a little bit, you can see that the highest that the audio is going down a lot. Where if I went to all the way up, I would probably be peaking most of my words at some point in the sentence. And when you peak in that sense, it actually means you're clipping or you're distorting. So if you talk, too loud into a mic, kind of like this, where it's really loud, it makes it like crunchy almost sounding. It like doesn't sound very nice. That's why you gotta be able to mix the audio fairly well to make sure that it all sounds okay. Now heading back to settings, if we go to audio again, you can get all of these. There are and this is other settings for each of the channels that you can have, and these are things that I don't worry about. Enable push to mute, enable push to talk, and you can set a delay for if you want that to work. There's no reason to be playing around with that, really, for at least that I need. Now I'm going to move to output because this actually brings up audio still. So this is all based on recording setups too. My output mode is set to advanced. I recommend doing that even if you don't know. You can learn. Learning is great. So if you go to the audio tab in your output tab, I guess, of settings, you can see that there are 6 tracks. So track 1 I have set to game. Track 2 I've set my condenser mic. Track 3 I have Discord comms. And track 6 I have stream/all. So let's head over to the streaming tab real quick and I'll show you how that works. So you can only select one track that the stream will take its audio from. So I just use 6, because why not? Your audio though, so the audio bitrate, again, leave that where it's at. You don't really need to worry about playing around with that too much, but if you know what you're doing, then go ahead and change it. But if you don't, please leave it where it's at. Otherwise, you'll probably be having issues and will have no fun trying to figure them out because you don't know what you're doing. So if you go into recording, I have it set up so it's my computer on my profile, which is the only profile on the computer, but whatever. I have videos, and then I have OBS Studio folder. And you can change that with the browse as with anything. So I record it in the format of MP4. And just because that's a universal file format, if you use things like FLV or MOV or MKV, most likely, unless you have specific editing programs that support that, it might not work. The earlier one I used did not support that, and I could not edit anything else sometimes. So now this shows you the audio tracks. So this is recording, remember. Your audio track 1, 2, 3, and 6. So if you go back over here, you can see, so 1 is the game. So I have my headphones recording to track 1. And then I have my condenser mic recording to track 2. I have Discord and comms, or basically just, so my communications device recording to track 3. And I have everything on track 6. Now, you need an editing software that supports this. Basically what this will do now is when it records into the MP4, it will have multiple separate audio file tracks. I used to edit with Premiere Elements, which did not or does not support multiple audio tracks on the video. Without having them separately recorded, but by recording it on here, everything's synced up, and I was having syncing issues before. This is much easier to use. So if we leave this, and we go to the advanced audio properties. All right, so if you look at the name, desktop audio, it is track 1, like we said, which is my game audio, or that's what I'm recording mainly. Discord and comms, that is going to be on track 3, which is my communications track. Condenser mic, which is on track 2. And then track 6 records everything. So I have that as kind of like an emergency backup to, if some of my audio goes corrupt, or in a way, I guess, or I screw something up on editing and I can't fix it. Now, there are better ways to set this up because your default will always be 1. So since I have my desktop audio or my game audio in track 1, if I go into my program that I used to use, which is Element, I keep saying the same thing. If I go back into Elements and I try and edit, I will only have game audio. It will only use track 1 because it does not support any of the other ones. It will only use audio from that first track. Now, it could be better, maybe if depending on the way you record, to have everything recording on track 1. In that case, everything will be in there, and you can kind of maybe, hopefully, salvage some of your audio. But the problem is you can't mix the audio separately after the fact, or having track 2 there so that at least they can hear your commentaries. And then Discord and comms, it will always record, even if you don't have an audio signal coming through, even if it's muted. But it's good. It's better to have that track in there because when you need it, it will be there. Don't if you have it set up, just leave it. Don't worry about anything. So going back to settings, we will have your output. Let me double check. All right, so we go to the video settings. Now I have 3 1080p monitors that I run off of. obviously I only record one of them at a time, although I could do all three if I wanted. That would be a mess though. Now, your base canvas resolution is what you have down here, or not down here, but over here, where this is 1080p right here. So I can set it to anything I want. I can set it to 2 pixels by 2 pixels. It would just be a mess. It would be ugly. It would not work. And so yeah, that's it. So you can do that, and if you could basically have your base canvas size resolution to 720, which would be 1280 by 720. There are advantages, I'm sure, to doing that, but with 1080, you get basically, when you're working on your background here, it is as true as it can be to what your output will be. Now, your output or scaled resolution, it will change it to, you can change it to be, if you want it to be 720. In that case, then it will basically condense it down to that, or downscale it. Or you can do 1600 by 900, which is what my old monitors were. So downscale filter. I guess I could probably do that. So if I ever need downscale, which I shouldn't. And I believe I was having issues with streaming, and this is probably why. Now your FPS. Okay, so there are big factors in OBS, which I'm sure in any editing software, that will cause recording issues. I'm going to run through the issue I had, which is probably something that you guys might have too. All right, so the issue I had was I would be streaming, and I had this while recording a few times. If my CPU level, which you can see down here, which is not my actual CPU level, you can go look at your task manager and it'll tell you that. But if you, while it's recording, like on OBS, my OBS I'm recording on, it is 18.1% right now. That's good. That's a good level. If I had a stronger CPU, I'm sure it would be down and I could have more wiggle room. But you want the maximum to be like 35%. You're gonna have issues at 35%. But the issue I was having was my videos would come out stuttery and laggy for some reason, and it was recording at the right FPS and whatever. But it was I could watch, and I would see that OBS was picking it up laggy, even though my computer wasn't lagging while I was doing it. So I was super confused. I don't know why it was happening. All right, so ways that you can help prevent that. So I believe I was recording in 60 FPS, and that is crazy. So if you record in 1080p 30, which 1080p 30 is 30, 1080p on with 30 FPS. So if we head back to settings, if you record in 1080p 30, and then you record, now I'm not going to get into advanced settings and such, just because I don't think I actually mess around with any of this. And hotkeys, they're pretty simple. You just kind of look at what you want on here. You can set it to mute, unmute, and such. That's pretty simple to understand. If you don't know how that works, then I'm sorry that you don't. And if you want to change your theme, you can go to here, and do whatever. But for just the sake of the video and so that it looks all right, I'm just gonna use the default. So it's nice and bright and it's easier to look at. So if you want to add a scene collection, which I kind of don't change between very often, if ever, just click new, make another one, or you can, import them or export them or whatever. Profiles I don't use. If you're streaming to YouTube separately, that would be handy, because then you could basically have, or streaming to Facebook or whatever, anything that's different than Twitch. You can actually set it so that you have, like, say, Radio 910 Twitch, Radio 910 YouTube, Radio 910 Facebook. So if you want to stream to Facebook one day versus Twitch, you just select the Facebook one, and if you have your stream encoder set to Facebook, it will stream to Facebook instead, without having to go into your settings and changing it and messing up settings and losing stuff. That's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. Maybe it's split into 2 parts. This is pre-editing stage currently. I'll eventually do a video on how to edit too. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends if they are trying to, do this sort of stuff. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.